Hey, this is Cadillac, and you're here with the Cage Rage podcast, and Mr. Little Jeans is in the back sleeping where he belongs. We'll get to that later. Hey, this is Cage Rage presents Outside the Cage, Wage Rage, where you can come in and learn who, what, where, when, and how to bet this weekend to earn a lot of money to put in your pocket, make your rent, pay your car payment, buy your girlfriend a diamond ring, or just stick it in your pocket and have some fun with it and go party. I'm here with fight aficionado, fight analyst, boxing extraordinaire, Anthony Scott Piatt. Scotty, how you doing today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me back. Looking forward to another Wage Rage podcast.
I'm
good
also
luck
here
recently,
with
so we'll keep it rolling.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm also here with our analyst and archivist, Miguel Iturrate. Miguel, what's going on in Costa Rica, buddy?
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks, Scotty, and always glad to be here at the Wage Rage podcast. We got a former world champion on the Premier Boxing Champions on Fox. Promoter Lou DiBella bringing out Keith Thurman. I guess the WBA belt is still on the line, so he's not a former champion. He still has one of his belts. And Thurman's been off, a couple of injuries, a couple of accusations, maybe he didn't want some fights and stuff like that. Here he's back. Lopez, not the frontline opponent everybody wanted for him. Lopez really a bouncing fight. I think the odds will show it. If you have an eye, if you're not a Thurman fan, you have an eye towards it. Ring rust, a couple of other factors. Thurman's got a lot to show and a lot to prove in this fight. I don't think the odds have it wrong, but it is something where we expect Thurman to be operating at a higher level than Lopez.
Scotty, what do you got to say about that?
Yeah, the odds that he's mentioning are negative 5,000 on Keith Thurman. Huge favorite, 28-0, 22 knockouts. He's fought the likes of Danny Garcia and Sean Porter. Josesito Lopez, plus 2,500, 36-7, 19 knockouts. He's been knocked out 3 times. I'm going to predict Thurman KO in 6 on this one.
Okay, so you're going over under.
That's a solid prediction. I mean, the bottom line with Lopez is he's a solid fighter. He's definitely a solid opponent that'll give Thurman, good 6 rounds is what I was going to say. And the bottom line there, though, is that he's never broken through against the top guy. He's fought Canelo Alvarez, Andre Berto, the likes of those fighters. At the end of the day, Thurman may be the best guy that he's fought. So I don't think he breaks through in this one either.
True.
Okay, great. So we've got a featherweight fight, 12 rounds. What's up with that one, guys?
Well, we got King Tug. Let me give this a try. Tug Scott Niambayar. He's a negative 515, 10-0, 9 knockouts. He's Mongolian, looking really strong. I believe he's an Olympian. Maybe Miguel can give us some more background if he knows it. His opponent, Claudio Marrero, plus 375, 23-2, only 1 knockout. I mentioned in our other Wage Rage podcast that Jesus Rojas was sort of the link for the night, the thread. So the only person to knock out Claudio Marrero, Jose Rojas, the only person to knock out Barrion on the other card, Jose Rojas, and Jose's fighting on that card. So check the zone, Wage Rage as well. But that's where we're at on this one. I'm going to go with Niambayar KO in 5.
And Niambayar, as our friend stated there, is an Olympian, 10-0. The vacant IBO, more or less a minor title, really, but the vacant IBO world title at 126 pounds on the line. Niambayar, grabbing belts. When you come from a country, it's not a hotbed, on international sports. You got to consider this kid's got a shot at maybe being, an international star or a star from his country, where at least everybody in this country is going to stop and watch when he's fighting and stuff like that. So he's a guy to keep an eye on here. I don't think, again, in terms of matchmaking, I don't think that they made a mistake here. I think they're looking to showcase him, and that's what we have here.
Hey, just real quick, because we've got a little extra time on this one because we got so few fights. Miguel, how much does that play into the odds making when the guys are making the odds? How much does something like, well, we believe he's going to be a star because he's coming from a country that, it's probably the only place he's going to be recognized. How much, if any, does that play into the odds making?
Now, I'm not an odds maker, right? And I respect the science that behind it, right? So, but the way I would approach it is first, I break it down and try to come up with a number of who's likely to win just based on ring skill. Just get an idea of who the favorite is there. And then at the end of the day, before you can post a line, you really do have to get a feeler for where the money's going to come in. So, in other words, anytime you post a Conor McGregor line, you may think, okay, at the end of the day, when Conor McGregor was fighting Dustin Poirier way back when, you could actually break that down and say Poirier is going to beat him. Or he's a better fighter. He's more long and this, that, and the other stuff. But then you make the adjustment for how much money's already set to come in on McGregor, and the line changes.
Yeah.
So in this case, I don't think that's a factor. I don't think Mongolia is that much a hotbed or anything like that, and that this guy's got anybody's attention at that level where he's actually drawing money. People may be watching, and I'm putting him as a guy that we should watch, in the interest of sport internationally, in the interest of boxing. He may not break through, but he's got those nice little bells and whistles around him that are potential. That's why he's fighting in the States at this point in his career. It's because he's got those little X factors that at the end of the day, 8 years down the line, you may be looking at a Mongolian Manny Pacquiao,
Fantastic. We got one more. We got a heavyweight 10-round fight. Scotty, what do you got on that?
We got the favorite at a negative 750, Adam Kownacki. He's out of Poland. Point out that he's 6'3" versus a 6'6" Gerald Washington, who's a plus 525 underdog. He's 19-2. Both twos are knockouts and one. He's only knocked out 12 out of his 23 fights. He's had 12. So he's not, about a 50% knockout rate. Again, on this one, I don't look for a whole lot from Gerald Washington. He's not a bad fighter. Kownacki's definitely up and coming. 18 of 14 knockouts. Kownacki knockout in the 8th round is what I'm going to call this one.
Miguel?
I think it's an interesting fight. I think, when you're talking about heavyweights, you kind of got to throw the knockout numbers out the window. Both of them are capable of knocking the other guy out with the type of firepower they bring. Washington's crossover boxer. He started his athletic career more as a football player. I think that shows in some of his games. Washington was really winning his fight with Deontay Wilder, probably up 3 rounds to 1 at least before he got knocked out by Wilder. And then for his next fight, he really took on, you got to respect the guy who comes back off of a KO loss to take on Jarrell Miller. Jarrell Miller, a 300-pounder, undefeated. So that one, he dragged Miller into the 8th round. Now, is Miller the be-all, end-all of the heavyweight division? No. Is Miller better than Kownacki? That's something that I think is open to question. I think we might find out more about that here. If the prediction is correct and Kownacki gets him out of there at the same time, around the 8th round, which is where Miller did, then, I think you're showing that Kownacki is showing something that's at a higher level than he's shown before.
Okay.
Washington, it behooves Washington. Washington really needs a win if he's going to stick with this. If not, he's going to be a journeyman real fast.
Yeah. Scott, I know you wanted to put something in real quick before we wrapped it up. We're running over a little bit. Go ahead and give it to us real fast. Hit it in there.
We got a small underdog pick we'll get to in a second. And then I just wanted to point out that the Marcus Brown, going with what Miguel was just saying, Badu Jack versus Marcus Brown from the 19th. Badu had a little bit of a name that was able to skew that a little bit. Money went to Badu. You get a little bit higher number on Marcus. And we called him as a dog pick. We actually picked him to win, and he did. I want to just say I saw that fight at my local AMC. So we always want to show some love to DAZN, ESPN, Absolutely. HBO before they quit Showtime. But HBO and Showtime, and now Showtime only, has a deal with AMC to show these live and on the big screen. It's a blast if you haven't done it. Shout out to Mitch and Anthony at our local AMC. We met a new viewer, Steven. He picked against me on a couple of fights, but we were real friendly about it. And we went undefeated that night, including this upset. So we won him over. Steven, thanks for tuning in, buddy. It was great meeting you. But, yeah, that's my shout-out to AMC and some of the folks involved. we're in Indiana. I see mine in Greenwood, but all around the nation, they have these fights. Look for the big fights at the theaters. It's a blast in those reclining seats, and they got a bar in there too. We were having a good time. So there's that, and then we do have that dog watch to get to. I want to throw out. We'll be done with this one.
And Scotty, tell me about that dog watch then.
The dog watch, I've been picking the rounds, whether it's going to be a decision or a knockout, for quite some time for fun. I'm picking Keith Thurman to knock out Josesito Lopez in the 6th. If you look, Miguel sent me an over-under on that we can bet at 9.5 rounds. And the under is where the money's at. It's a plus 100 on the under. Since I'm picking Keith Thurman on the under, even if Lopez upsets him, it doesn't matter which fighter, it's the under. So pick the under on that fight. And it's sort of a mini underdog pick. It's not really either fighter. It's that we think it's going to end before 9.5 rounds. So there's a little bit of money to be made there, and I think Keith Thurman will do it, but it doesn't matter. Either one of the boxers does it, you're in the money.
Great. Hey, listen, guys, we appreciate everything, especially your expertise, especially allowing Wage Rage people to make more money from watching Wage Rage. Tell your friends about it. Spread this around. Share the link. Smash that subscribe button. Like us. Tell us what you think. Let everybody else know what you think of us, too. Share it. Let everybody know. Until next time, namaste.
Never sleep again.
I like running through white people neighborhoods with my shirt off.
I'm gonna steal all your stuff.
I like running through black people's neighborhoods with my shirt off.
I'm gonna get all my stuff back. Oh, fuck.
Muchos pitos se escuchaban en el Iberostar Stadium, pero además, ojo.